Dabo Swinney calls Clemson a bunch of nobodies.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, and welcome to Locked On Clemson, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show, we're going to be talking about Dabo Swinney and what he was asked recently at a press conference. He said, a simple question, what's been popping, what's been standing out, who's been impressing him or surprising him? And instead of giving you what we had heard from the past of Dabo Swinney and his normal answers, he didn't name a freshman or a transfer player or a veteran that has been having a good offseason. Dabo said nobody, and specifically said a bunch of nobodies. And then he added that they'll see if anybody becomes somebody once they start playing somebody. Now, that's a quote that obviously is getting a lot of attention right now because on the surface, it seems like pretty harsh words. Sounds like Dabo's taking a shot at his own team. Maybe they deserve it. But I didn't hear it that way. I hear it as a coach, being a little bit more honest and straightforward and attacking this team a little bit more heads on than he has in the past. So we're going to get into the discussion, talk about what that means. What does it mean for this team to become someone, and how do they continue to change the conversation about them after a disastrous 7-6 season last year? And to be honest with you, this is the kind of reset in a mindset that this team needs. It's not an insult, nowhere near calling them, bad names or anything like that. Didn't say, hey, we suck or we stink. But it doesn't cover up the fact that the group that he has, for the most part, went 7-6. Even with a bunch of NFL players on the roster, they went 7-6. Now, a lot of those guys are gone. But those guys are gone, and now the new guys are in, and, they haven't earned it either. None of them have earned the right to walk around and act like they have been a part of Clemson's story of being in the national championship, Clemson's history of all those trophies in the locker room, because they in the football's operations, right, building, right. So nobody has actually helped this team do that on this current roster. And so the message has to be clear to them that they have a lot to prove, especially after last season. We all admit that Clemson has lost its edge. It's gotten soft. They're no longer feared and not as respected as they used to be. Now, still respected in the fact that, hey, you're a respectable coach, you're a respectable program, but I'm talking about on Saturdays. I'm talking about in the trenches, respecting how the team is playing, not what the team is built of, made of, or the history of the team. In the past, especially last season, this team was preseason, top 10. I thought that they were going to be in the playoffs. They were loaded with talent, a lot of veteran presence, returning starters. I think statistically, percentage-wise, the most returners on the team in all of college football. But they found ways to lose games, not win games. And you could keep talking about, oh, well, it was just one or two plays. We're sick of it. Sick of the one or two plays stuff. They found a way to lose games, and they were really good at underachieving last year. And Dabo and the staff admitted, hey, there was entitlement in the locker room. Players started believing that they deserved to be there, that the rankings were true, that the draft projections are more and matter more than the results on the football field. And they played like it. They played like what they cared about was the future and not the current state. Honestly, Dabo Swinney has taken a grenade to all that, taking a flamethrower to all that, trying to burn it out of the locker room. And I like it. I'm here for it because he has a pulse of the team better than we do. We're not there every single day as much as we would want to be. So he has a better idea of what's going on. If he feels like the team and the culture is drifting away from the values that he's instilled, then he has a right to correct it, and he should. And he's done things and said things to reset his team and get the mentality right. In the past, you heard about little old Clemson. That kind of stuff keeps the perspective right, even when they were dominating. Reminders that the past doesn't matter, your name doesn't matter, your hype doesn't matter. You must produce. A bunch of nobodies, after a true year in which they greatly underachieved, is just a verbal way of stripping the nameplates off of the lockers. I don't know if they've actually done that. I hadn't been in the locker room recently, but I don't mind that. Strip the names off the lockers. I mean, these are like extremely expensive locker rooms they have. Professional grade locker rooms. And, if they don't need to have names on them. And even if they don't do that, it really goes back to setting the tone that you're earning it from Monday to Friday until you get into Saturdays. Now, some people may say it's harsh, but you know what? This is reality. This is necessary. You don't continue to play with kid gloves on or, play soft, talk soft when your team is soft. 7-6 is not what you want, so you have to reset from that. You have to distance yourself from that in any way possible. Relative to the talent that was on the team, it was an extreme failure. Now, some people would say, a 7-6 season, I mean, you still won, you still went to a bowl game, you still beat your rival, but it was an extreme failure based on the talent that was on the team. So now it's time to create discomfort. I mean, you played with kid gloves on with the past team, you gave them everything they wanted, and they did not repay you the way that you expected. So now it's time for discomfort. Remove any area of entitlement from this team, comfortability. Force everyone to earn it. The competition must be real and must be felt amongst the newbies and amongst the veterans. And it's hard to do that amongst veterans who maybe pretty much know they do have a starting job. But the veterans who are ready to become leaders in the locker room will respond the right way. And the ones who don't respond, maybe you shouldn't have them on the team anyways. The ones who are going to take it personal and be insulted, maybe you don't need them around. If they're putting pressure on guys and they're folding, I don't need them to suit up on Saturdays, personally. I don't care to see them. I don't care to cheer for them. I don't care to report on them. But it's not Dabo just taking a shot at his roster for no reason. I believe you don't do that if you don't believe in your team, if you don't believe that they can handle the standard. Dabo's going to always put pressure where he believes can be handled. Remember that. He's never going to put pressure or criticism on someone who he doesn't think can handle it, or a position group who he doesn't think can handle it. He'll put pressure where it needs to be, especially in the public eye. But let's be honest, wins and losses and keeping your job at the college football level, NFL draft means nothing to that. Now, it's nice when you're winning to get draft picks, but if you're losing and you get draft picks, it makes you even more bitter. You're losing and you have a high preseason ranking and a lot of preseason All-Americans, and it makes you more bitter. What we care about is, what are you doing right now for this team to be successful on Saturdays? And I'm not just talking about Dabo. I'm talking about the team that's out there right now putting in the effort. Is it all for naught? Is it all for waste? Is it all just for the NFL draft? Well, I hope nobody on this team gets drafted if that's the mentality that they're going to have. I'd rather have 0 draft picks for Clemson and have a team that's tough than 9 draft picks and have a team that's soft. It's time to reset the mentality and believe Clemson's doing the right things. Now, do they really have a bunch of nobodies? No, but they need to go into this season believing that and having that chip on their shoulder, having that attitude. Because that's the reset that this team needs. Not an insult, the reset this team needs. Stick with me when we come back. Segment 2, we're going to talk about how specifically they are going to become that somebody right here on Locked On Clemson. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. And that's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software system that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales to accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster and stay organized and focused on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everybody working on the same goal, towards the same goal. And that's true in sports as it is true in business. One thing that really stands out with Clemson and this team right now is how Dabo has organized this team and trying to get them back into the same direction. Nobody is guaranteed starting position. They're a bunch of nobodies. They need to get together and become one so they become somebody. It's a coordinated effort from the top down to separate themselves from just average programs to great programs. Great organizations win because that internal operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Welcome back in segment 2 here of Locked On Clemson. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button or follow so you never miss another episode of Locked On Clemson as we get ready for this football season. Now, I'm going to go into the second segment talking about which player and which position group is most needed to become somebody. They can't stay a nobody. Now, to be honest with you, everybody can't stay a nobody, if that makes any sense. But I don't want to go into this LSU game with a bunch of nobodies. Let's be honest. Okay. That would be kind of scary. It's gonna be walking away with your tail between your legs, that if that happens, for sure. But who needs to become somebody the most? Well, I'm going to probably beat this drum, until the end of the season, until he actually does it. But it's got to be Christopher Vizzina, the quarterback. And to me, it's not particularly close. Now, there will be some people who give me certain names, and I'm just going to keep going back to no, Christopher Vizzina. It's not anybody on the offensive line. It's not the running backs, the quarterbacks, or the secondary or the defensive line. If it's one specific player, it is Christopher Vizzina. Clemson can have talented receivers, and they do. They have, a line of scrimmage that can be physical, pieces that have been brought in from the portal. None of those things matter if the quarterback doesn't make a clear and decisive step forward this season. And the quarterback being Christopher Vizzina, the one player who needs to show that he is actually developed. And whether or not he has developed or not developed or had the lack of development will define whether or not this season and this team is actually capable of rebounding from a 7-6 season or just continuing to feel like the same old and treading water. The indictment against Christopher Vizzina is that he sat behind Cade Klubnik. That's the problem. Cade Klubnik was frustrating in many ways. After 3 years behind Cade Klubnik, he ended up with one start. And the sample size from that start is extremely tiny. Overall, 105 attempts, one solid outing against SMU, where he threw for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns. A lot of excitement from that one game, but that team wasn't the greatest defense in the world, wasn't the greatest pass defense in the world. Actually, was one of the worst pass defenses in the country, if not the worst. So outside of that one game, what do you got? A whole bunch of sitting on the bench. That's what you got. A whole bunch of standing on the sideline with the clipboard. That's what you got. That's not something that gives you a lot of confidence. It's not a finished product, or at least we don't believe. We haven't seen what the product is, really. He has got to prove that he can be the true leader of this team, that he can process the game speed properly, protect the football, even when the offensive line doesn't hold up. And even when the structure isn't fully there, because this is still going to be week one for this team. It's not all going to go perfect. Week one on the road at Tiger Stadium against LSU is a difficult game. And, when it comes to a specific position group, the trenches are it. I can say specific player has to be for sure Christopher Vizzina, but when it comes to a position group, the trenches are it. That's what makes this game extremely urgent. Clemson's offensive line is still sorting itself out. It's had significant turnover. And if the protection is not there, if it's inconsistent, and early returns from what I'm hearing on the inside is work in progress, not super confident there. Christopher Vizzina has to show that he has to be able to create things even if the pocket is collapsing. So the onus still goes on him to be able to make something happen. And I hate that. I hate to say, hey, when the offensive line fails you, you still are responsible. But that's kind of what a quarterback is expected to do. Take something and make it out of nothing in some cases. If this season is successful, Christopher Vizzina will become somebody. And if he doesn't become somebody, we better hope that Tate Reynolds becomes somebody. Because if you have two nobodies, your team could be in for a rude awakening and not even make a bowl game. And it's not just about being accurate or to keep drives alive. It's really about being a leader in a way that he can get the ball in the playmaker's hands. And I really do believe that I have a lot of trust in the fact that Chad Morris can scheme something that can help him. But all of this really does revolve around the one group that I said we have to kind of play it by ear right now. No other group on this roster fits the prove it message more than the offensive line, in my opinion. They lost 4 starters. The remaining pieces have a lot left to be desired. Some pedigree for sure. Some snaps, yeah. But proven consistency, winning the line of scrimmage, even against good defensive fronts, no. They don't have that. They don't have the experience they need. They don't have the trust. We don't have the trust in them that we need. There's a mix of limited examples, developmental stage guys that hopefully will not be there when come September, and talented guys, but are young guys that are wanting an opportunity, but fighting for the opportunity. Now, early reports from the inside are saying that they're shifting around. They're trying to find combinations that work. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I say August 12th, good thing. August 30th, bad thing. I don't need to be at the end of August 2 weeks from now still worried about what my combo of offensive linemen are going to be. Because you chose to not go in the portal just like you chose to not go in the portal for the quarterback. Now, I say that, but I'll take it back a little. I'll walk it back a little bit immediately and say that they did target some guys in the portal for the offensive line, but obviously the offers or the recruitment was not that serious because they didn't land anybody. We believe in Braden Jacobs. We believe in Elijah Thurman. We actually like Harris Sewell at the center position. The rest of the guys still got a lot of questions. Upside for sure. Okay, I'll give you that. But questions, we can't deny that either. This is exactly the environment that Dabo is talking about. You got a room full of nobodies that got to make a name for themselves. And the room is the offensive line. And it's not just the offensive line, but to be honest with you, name me another position group that is more important than that needs to become a somebody more than the offensive line. Quarterback, yes, definitely. Specific person, yes. Offensive line, definitely 1000% yes. Those bunch of nobodies got to become somebody in a hurry because you got like 3 weeks. And it's extremely important that you don't go to LSU and make yourselves look like a fool because you weren't ready or because you didn't do the right things in the offseason to fix your roster. Stick with me, segment 3 here of Locked on Clemson. When we come back, the Everydayer Only segment, we will talk about how does Clemson change this conversation versus LSU and other teams this season right here on Locked on Clemson. Support for today's episode comes from Indeed Sponsored Jobs. When workplace chaos hits, you need the right hire. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and location. So less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute that you and I have been talking, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So, as Clemson fans, we've seen exactly what the right addition can do. After a frustrating 2025 season, everybody's very excited about adding in Chad Morris, a guy who knows Death Valley, knows the standard, knows how to get the offense rolling. That's the kind of hire that can help change the trajectory of the team. One person, one right hire, one good fit. The right energy makes everyone else around them better. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get you your job, the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. This episode is also brought to you by Kalshi. Before the season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions. Who wins the division? Who makes the playoffs? Who's lifting the trophy at the season's end? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. Can Clemson win at least 8 games this season? Clemson's currently trading at 56%, meaning a $100 trade can pay out $179 if they reach 8 wins. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, trade the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Welcome back into segment 3 of Locked on Clemson. Thank you so much for sticking with me. As you know, the Everydayer Only segment is what I lovingly call it. I should trademark it, but I can't trademark Everydayer. It's not mine. It's Locked On's. But this is the Everydayer Only segment because most of you who are not Everydayers, the casuals, I'm not talking to you because you're not here anymore. You've gone. You left me. But if you're still here in segment 3, you are truly an everydayer. So I want to make sure that I give you a specific shout out for sticking with me. So thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me, keeps me going, especially when you get in the comments and tell me that you made it all the way through. So thank you so much. All right. So let's get into the Everydayer Only segment. How are we going to change the conversation? Well, not we, because I'm going to talk about it, whether or not they change it or not. But how does Clemson change the conversation? What does becoming somebody look like for Clemson in the opener versus LSU? Well, to me, becoming somebody, I break it down into 3 different things. Okay, I think I got my list of 3. I might have put maybe 4. You know how I do with my lists, but I'm not a very good counter of my list. But number 1, and I've kind of already talked about it, but the offensive line has to scrap. They have to fight. And I'm not expecting domination for 60 minutes. I think that would be a little bit too unrealistic versus an LSU front that is going to have the home crowd energy and is going to be, really scrappy. That's for sure, with a lot of high paid guys. But they can't allow themselves to get pushed and pulled around and bullied and on their back like a dead cockroach. I don't want to see that anymore. I don't want to see falling over anybody. I don't want to see highlight reels of Clemson LSU where you go back and you look absolutely ridiculous on the offensive line, because that's what happened last year. There were replays of the offensive line and they looked ridiculous. So if Clemson's rebuilt offensive line is getting walked back, is getting beat up, if the quarterback is on his back, if the running game is completely shut down in the first 3 drives, then this whole bunch of nobodies prove it message and everything is dead in the first quarter. Becoming somebody starts with the winning, with having a winning edge from the get-go, from first snap, from quarter 1. You can't start out weak if you're going to have this mentality. You have to come out throwing punches. And the individual battles up front really matter for sure. What the guards are doing with the interior, what the tackles are doing with the edge. But it matters because you got to be able to give your quarterback a chance to operate, give Chad Morris a chance to call plays and scheme it up, give the offensive line, give the running backs behind the offensive line a chance to get in open space. Clean pockets on critical downs. Physicality in the run game. No freebies for the defense. That's number 1. The offense has to continue to fight. The offensive line has to fight for 60 minutes. Not dominate, but they got to keep fighting. Number 2 is that the quarterback. We talked about Christopher Vizzina in segment 1. The quarterback has to show that he can still function and be trustworthy even when it gets loud and disruptive, because we know for a fact that Tiger Stadium is going to get loud and disruptive. Whether it's Christopher Vizzina or Tate Reynolds, I don't really care. Both of them, when they go into this game, if they go into this game and play, I'm not asking for perfection, but you need to be able to process under pressure. You need to be able to protect the football and make the appropriate throws on the drives to keep them alive. And even if, the offensive line around you is kind of breaking down, because the LSU fan base is going to be really, really rabid. They're going to come after you. It's going to be mentally challenging. Can you rise to the occasion, or are you going to falter? The quarterback has to hold up just as much as the offensive line has to hold up. And the whole team as a whole, competitive toughness for 4 quarters, not just third and fourth quarter, not resetting after halftime, not coming out sluggish in the first quarter like they've been doing for the past 3 seasons. What I saw before, I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to see a team that walks into Baton Rouge and is just soft from the start, that is just unsure of itself and lacks confidence, seems to be stepping on over its own toes, Don't do that. Tackle cleanly, make LSU win everything, take advantage of opportunities when you get them, keep the game manageable even if you're down 1 score. Don't allow a blowout to happen within the first 3 drives. A win would be great. And so that's what I want to talk about as well, as far as changing the conversation. A win would change the conversation overnight. Look physical, though. Look organized, look dangerous. I'm okay with that too. I'm not asking for a win, honestly. A win in Baton Rouge on the road under the lights against Lane Kiffin with all the hype after a 7-6 hangover season with a bunch of nobodies. Hey, chalk it up. I'm loving that. That's a huge story that I'm going to run with. SEC. Yeah, well, you walk in there and you win the game. I'm loving that. I'll be chanting SEC all night into the early morning. But if you go in there and you compete and you look like you have an edge, look like you have some fight in you, you keep the game close and you battle, even if it comes into a loss, I'm walking away thinking, okay, they're more relevant than I thought. They're battling, they're scrappy, They're trending in the right direction. I'd rather be trending in the right direction than treading water or faltering and seeing more cracks in the construction of this roster and this staff. Whatever version of this team ends up showing up for LSU or finishing and walking away from Baton Rouge, I hope that they stay competitive and physical. I really dream of a win, but I just don't want a soft performance, and I definitely can't handle a blowout. Clemson is truly a Vegas underdog for a reason. The expectation needs to be that. But you don't need to sacrifice standards because you're an underdog. Look dangerous, look organized, be ready to fight. Winning is just going to be that accelerant on the fire. But be ready to fight, look organized, and scrap to the very end. I'll take that too. Hey, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree that this is the way to change conversation? Do you agree with the position group and the quarterback? I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments if you're watching over on YouTube, or if you're listening to me on podcast, you can always check me out on X at The Morgan T Show. I love hearing from you. And Thursday night, Friday night of this week, you can check me out on 105.5 The Roar on Walt Deptula's Road Rage. I'll be filling in for producer Ramona. I know a lot of you said, where you been on The Roar? I filled in for Ramona today. If you missed it, go check it out, the Wednesday night show or afternoon show. But I'll be there tomorrow night and Friday to continue while she's on vacation, and she'll be back and I'll be back in the skies when she comes back. So again, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. Be sure, I'm going to send you over to the 24/7 YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening, I can't send you anywhere. So go check out Locked On Braves, Locked On LSU. If you want to, Locked On Gamecocks. But there's a lot of other shows out there that you could probably skip instead of Locked On Gamecocks. Don't do them. Locked On ACC would be one of those as well. But again, thank you so much. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.